Welcome to another edition of WTOP's Beer of the Week. I'm Brennan Haselton with Greg Engert, Beer Director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a Food and Wine Sommelier of the Year. And I should mention, if you're wondering, the restaurant group includes Church Key, where we are, and Birch and Barley downstairs. Greg, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
What's on tap this week?
So this week I thought we'd do something amazing from Goose Island, legendary Chicago brew pub and then brewery that I think kind of infamously for some was purchased outright by Anheuser-Busch InBev not long ago. So Goose Island is in fact not an independent craft brewer, so to speak. They were purchased by this big multinational conglomerate. And I only bring that up to say that nothing's changed. The beers are as delicious as they ever were. A lot of people were worried, how are they going to change up their business?
But skeptical,
skeptical, right? At this point, when craft beer is growing by 13 to 15% each year, larger brewers are going to want a piece of that, but they're not going to want to come in and change. If the good thing's going, why would you change it? So they're just really giving them support to do what they were doing before. Not a big staff changeover, really. Some people left, the owners and things like that. But
you can go start another brewery.
A lot of the remainders stuck around, including their cellar master who does all their aging. And This is a great example of that. An absolutely amazing beer called Juliet. It is a sort of Belgian-style saison, I guess. It's fermented with ale yeast as well as wild yeast, which will begin to give it that kind of funky, slightly acidic character up front. But then a lot of this color comes from the barrel aging that occurs afterwards. So after it's been fermented with wild yeast, it looks like kind of like a really pale Pinot, and it has similar flavors. It goes into oak barrels that previously matured Cabernet Sauvignon, red wine, and then they're adding blackberries into those barrels as well. So very complex.
Well, there's definitely a sweetness in the nose, slight.
It's pretty awesome. It's a good beer.
It's tart, but not too.
It's not,
what else can I say?
It's not sour.
No, it's not. It's
tart. It's tannic. That's really what it is. It's drying. The tannins from the oak are on there, and they're giving it this beautiful dryness and almost balancing it against the acidity, which is also kind of dry and vibrant in the finish. But what I love about this beer is that it smells as much like fruit as it does like grain. It smells as much like ale as it does like Pinot Noir. The wood comes in, everything's balanced. It's just, to me, a phenomenal beer. And so, anybody, it doesn't really matter who is owning this brewery. When things like this continue to come out, it's just astounding.
What's great about this type of beer, really any type of beer, is you think you know what it might taste like when you put the glass to your nose at first, and then it's not completely different, but I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's something. It's not one note. A lot of times you smell something and it's like, boom, it hits you, and then you taste it and you're like, expected from the aroma. And at the same time, you don't necessarily want it to not be related to the aroma, but you're right. You smell it. It's got so many gorgeous nuances, and then the flavor is almost like riffing. The taste is riffing on the nose. It's similar, but different. And you'll notice as the beer subsides, the flavors, the complex flavors are evolving. They're totally changing. It's amazing. It's a great beer for people who think they only love wine and don't like beer, because of course it is a vinous beer, and it's one of these I call them like crossover beers, the transitional beers, getting people, men and women alike, who are really big wine drinkers, to see the possibility of beer and how noble and complex beer can be in a wine-like way.
One of the greatest things a couple I know did one time, and there was only, I think, 6 of us or 8 of us, and they were going out to someone's condo out near Ocean City. They said, we're bringing a beer and wine tasting, and this is a guy who has an open mind about beer, but drinks a lot of Miller Lite. I'm not knocking Miller Lite. It's
different than craft
beer.
Yeah,
it's different. And so I was surprised, and boy, they brought it out, and it was amazing, the cheeses they selected to go with it. And my rambling point is, if you're not sure you might like this beer, get 10 friends together and get a few different types of beers. Yeah. Someone will drink it.
Oh, yeah.
It won't go to waste. Someone 10 different mouths are going to like different things.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of beer is like, having something from all those flavor categories. You get whenever you're tasting, it's fun to have something that's tart and funky like this, something that's hoppy, something that's roasty. And that makes me think about one of my favorite things about Birch and Barley and the tasting menus we do nightly down there is that's an opportunity where I will sneak in strange beers, odd beers, because a lot of people that come in to do those tasting menus can be just kind of like foodies. They love food and they're interested in the possibilities of the beer stuff. They might be kind of new to craft beer. And one of the best things is when you serve them something like, I do this constantly with sour beers, but with smoky beers especially, and they taste it on its own and they're like, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that. And I'm like, that's fine. Wait till you taste it with the food. And then with the food, it makes a lot more sense. And then they find out that they do like it. And so I guess that's a long point to get to. You'd be surprised that even when we start drinking these, the sours, you might be like, I don't really like it that much. You can find food that would go great with it. And then later on, you'll find that you actually do like them. People evolve over time. Your palates do.
And speaking of cheese with this, what else?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And with cheese, this is goat smoked cheeses, brie camembert. There's phenomenal goat smoked bloomy rind cheese called Montenegro. It's a Spanish goat smoked cheese from the Basque region. It's got a great kind of pasty chalk to it, a little bit tangy. Phenomenal with this. But then also, I think of like lots of game. It's kind of Pinot Noirish, so it can go light or dark. You could do this with, like roasted chicken. You could do it with duck. You could do it with squab, which is an awesome mid-Atlantic game bird. That's delicious. I love meats with this that combine intensity, but without being too rich on the palate. I think that's what I think of when I think of a beer like this, is that it's really complex, but still kind of light and airy and refreshing. And so I think of like game birds as being really great for that. Rabbit, same kind of idea. Really delicious with any of those things.
This beer could be a shock to your mouth, but I can tell you, I want to have more, though, which I think is the greatest compliment.
Calls you back. Give, right? Absolutely.
Before we go, quickly about the macro breweries. And it was interesting, a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I can't remember exactly when, you were talking about how the macro breweries we really have to give thanks to for hop development.
Totally, yeah.
Without them we wouldn't necessarily right now have all these different sort of variations
big hops,
of hops. But I think people do get suspicious. They go, oh, this is a new craft beer, and they're looking at the bottle and seeing, well, where is it made? But it's fascinating to know that, at least in some cases, the bigger breweries are buying these breweries and letting them be.
Yeah, and they're letting them be, and they're really just like giving them more access. Distribution is the big thing, because
true.
Distribution is something that a lot of people despise, because it frankly does add another layer of expense, because we have a 3-tier system in the U.S. Things come from the brewer to the distributor to the on or off-premise place. But without distributors, which were largely empowered, emboldened by national distribution of big brewers, we wouldn't be able to get 555 beers from all over the place. I couldn't afford to send a truck all over the country to get these things. So I think, yes, big brewers were key in developing big bittering hops so that they could use less to get the same effect and make an efficient and cheaper beer in some ways. But also they were key in developing distribution networks, which, while may make your beer a little bit more expensive, they make a lot more available to us. So that's another cool thing that has happened through national macro brewing.
All right, excellent. We've been talking the past couple of weeks about this. If you've got a question for Greg, something, because who knows, mine are at times suspect, but if you've got a question you'd like Greg to answer you personally, send us an email at beeroftheweek@WTOP.com, and we will pass those along to you and have you answer some of them.
I'll pick the easiest ones and answer them for you.
Hot stock tips. Not at all. Greg, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Always do drink responsibly, and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.